Have you ever started off the month with the best of intentions when it comes to your money, only to realize halfway through the month that you have overspent and you've completely blown your budget? Don't panic. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 simple things that you can do to fix your budget whenever you've overspent so that you can get back on track with your money. Hey, I'm Allison. Years ago, my husband and I paid off over $111,000 of debt on 2 teacher salaries, and let me tell you, we were not perfect when it came to our budget. There were many times whenever we overspent and our budget just felt like it was going to get thrown in the trash. But instead of quitting and saying, this must not be working for us, we learned how to fix it and move forward. Today, I'm sharing the exact steps that worked for us so that way you can try them too. When you realize that you've overspent, the very first thing that you need to do is pause and assess the situation. It's really easy to panic and honestly spiral. I see a lot of people that will write a budget, they end up overspending. Either it's spending on things that they don't need, or something comes up and they think, you know what, this is not working for me. Maybe it works for other people, maybe it works for them, but it's just not working for me. And they give up and they just continue to spend. And guess what? Nothing with their money changes. So here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to panic. I don't want you to sit in this like shame and guilt and think that you can't figure it out, because you can. Things happen. Unexpected expenses come up. We give in to temptation and impulse spending, but all of these things can be fixed. So first we have to pause and really assess the situation. Start by looking at your actual numbers, not just the mental math or the memory of your spending. We want to figure out where you went over budget and how much money you spent. Let's say that you ended up going over budget because your kid needed new pants. It's getting cold. We're having colder weather. You realize, oh my goodness, all of their pants don't fit them anymore. So you ended up spending, I don't know, $120 on jeans and sweatpants and all of this. And that was not in your budget. So we want to look and see, okay, how much money did you actually spend on this item that you weren't expecting, and which category did you overspend in? So maybe you overspent $120 in your clothing category. You want to write it all down so that way we can actually see what we're working with. Heck, maybe it's not just one category where you went over budget. Maybe you went over budget in clothing, restaurants, groceries, and I don't know, online shopping. We want to see where you overspent. This is not so that way we can torture ourselves and tell ourselves that this is bad. We just want the data, right? We have to try our best to remove the emotion from it so that we can look at the data and make a plan moving forward. Once you have paused and assessed the situation, the next step is to adjust your current budget. This is something that I do all the time. The beauty of a budget is that it's not set in stone. It is this living, breathing, flexible document. I know that when I first started budgeting, I thought that I would write a budget and I had to follow through with everything I wrote down, that it had to look, my spending had to look exactly like my budget said. And if it didn't, then oh well, might as well throw it away and start over next month like we've ruined it. No, your budget is a living, breathing thing, meaning that you can make changes even in the middle of your budget period. I want to share with you exactly what this looks like for our own family. I know that when it comes to our spending, there are a couple of categories where we might go over budget. Those categories for us are shopping. I have shopping. It's just kind of like this standard catch-all. Usually it's online shopping, things from Amazon that we're buying for our house or our kids, or just, I don't know, even my deep conditioner treatment for my hair. I buy that on Amazon. If we go over budget in our shopping category, I'm tracking my spending every single day. In fact, I have a video all about why I track my spending and how it's so powerful. I'll link to that right up here. You can click there and watch it. But I track my spending and it allows me to see, okay, if I budgeted $150 for shopping and I see that I have spent $175 on online shopping, I'll actually look at the categories in my budget and I might move money from one category to another one. So I might lower my restaurant's budget by $25 and move it over to my shopping budget. Some people call this what is it? Robbing Peter to pay Paul. You know that saying, you're going to rob Peter to pay Paul. I don't call it that. I call it problem solving. Your budget is going to be flexible. It's okay to move money from one category to the next to compensate or deal with some spending that you might have not expected or didn't think about or completely forgot about. That's okay. This isn't a punishment. It's getting thoughtful and it's problem solving. I would much rather say, okay, we need to spend less in restaurants for the rest of our paycheck period or our budget period because we already overspent in shopping. And now I know, okay, I got to cook more at home. So I just moved the money from one category to the next. Step 1 was to pause and assess the situation. Step 2 is to adjust your current budget. And the third step is to learn from the pattern. Now, it's good for you to look at your spending, and when you look and see where did I overspend, it's good to ask yourself, was this a one-time situation? Was this something that is not going to be happening month in and month out? For instance, let's say that you went over budget because you forgot that you had to get an oil change. And so it's going to cost you an extra, I don't know, $115, $120 for an oil change, and you just forgot about it. That would be a one-time situation. That's not a pattern that we're seeing in your spending. Now, if I start consistently spending money on Amazon, I'm ordering things maybe 2 or 3 days a week, and I'm going over my shopping budget consistently over time, that's a pattern. So we want to look and ask ourselves, was this a one-time thing like a car repair, or honestly, even just budgeting money for clothing for your kids that you had completely forgotten about? Is this a one-time thing, or is it a pattern that's happening over and over again? Because if it is a pattern, then that might mean that you need to actually change how much money you are spending every single month or every single paycheck period on a certain item. Let me give you an example. There was a time years ago whenever we budgeted $120, I want to say $120 a week for groceries. This was pre-COVID. I feel like grocery prices have skyrocketed just with inflation. And it was whenever our children were a lot younger, so they weren't eating as much food. But we got to the point where we were continuously going over budget with our groceries. We were spending $150, $180 every week. I was able to look back and say, okay, is this a pattern? Yes, it's a pattern. We are consistently going over budget, over the amount I had budgeted every single week, which told me, okay, I either need to buy less food consistently, or prices have gone up, my kids are growing, they're eating more, and I need to adjust my budgeted amount. And so that's what I did. I adjusted it. Over time, I increased the amount that we were budgeting for groceries every single week. So now, fast forward to today, I budget $200 every week for groceries for our family. And that has grown over time. And honestly, it will continue to grow as prices go up, as my kids get even older. And then one day, whenever they go to college or they move out, that number will come back down, and that's okay. An easy way to do this is to look and see how much money you've been spending in the past 2 to 3 months on average for each of those categories. And I can do this really easily with the Budget My Paycheck spreadsheet because I am tracking my spending. I can very easily go back and see how much money did I spend in groceries for July, August, and September, and look at those monthly totals, figure out how much that comes down to per week, and get a sense of whether or not I need to increase that amount I'm budgeting or not. The fourth step when it comes to dealing with any overspending is to prevent any future issues. Once we know that we have overspent in a specific category, we can ask ourselves, especially if it's a one-time thing or it's something that's not happening every single month, maybe what we need to do to keep ourselves from having this problem again is to add a sinking fund to our budget for that expense. A sinking fund is essentially whenever you intentionally set aside money and you're saving money for something that you know will happen, you want to happen, or might happen. Some examples of my sinking funds are, we know that we are going to have to pay for Christmas gifts in December. So we are setting aside $175 every single month for Christmas gifts so that whenever December comes around, we have that money set aside. It doesn't have to come out of our budget, it doesn't have to come out of our paycheck. During the month of December, we're not feeling like super pinched with our money. So we have a sinking fund for that. We also have a sinking fund for car maintenance. These are for things that might happen. My car might break down. My car might get a flat tire and a tire needs to be replaced. Setting up sinking funds for things like that is really helpful because even if it doesn't help you cover the entire cost of a repair, it at least kind of takes the edge off. In fact, I had a member inside my inner circle community. I'm going to see if I can find her post where she had talked about this in the Facebook group, but she had said that she was so thankful she set up a sinking fund for car maintenance because she had an unexpected car repair and she had $150 in her car maintenance sinking fund, and it covered, I want to say like almost the entire cost of that repair. And it was just so wonderful because she didn't have to stress out about making changes in her budget in the moment or pulling money out of savings or putting the repair on a credit card. She was able to just say, hey, I have this money set aside for things that might happen, so I'm going to use it. And it just leads to a lot more peace of mind, if you ask me. Another way that you can prevent some of these future issues is to add a buffer to your budget. I always 100% of the time, always add a buffer to my budget. This is basically just an extra line item in my budget. I literally call it buffer. And what it does is it helps cover the cost if I go over budget in a certain category. So let's say that I budgeted $400 for groceries for a 2-week time span, but I actually spent $425. What I can do is let my buffer absorb some of that amount. So it's really great because it allows you to not feel like you're just living penny by penny and that everything needs to be perfect. It gives you a little bit more flexibility and breathing room in your budget in general. The 5th step to fixing your budget whenever you overspend is to reset your mindset. Now, I know this might sound woo-woo and you might be thinking that's not like a practical thing that I can do, but I promise it is. And it is so important. I don't know about you, but I don't want to budget if every single time I do it, I feel shame and guilt and frustration and overwhelmed with myself. If that's how I feel, then I'm likely not going to show up and I'm not going to work on my money. So we need to reset our mindset whenever you do feel like you've had a misstep or you've overspent. It's really easy to sit in this space thinking that you're doing this wrong, you are a failure, and you should just give up, right? Like, I know I've been there. However, the biggest danger isn't overspending. Spending too much money on something isn't the biggest issue you could have. It's not the biggest danger to your money. The biggest danger to your money is giving up and quitting and deciding that this isn't working. I might as well just go back to winging it with my money. I'm not going to look at my account balances. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to live life day to day. That is the biggest danger to your money. When we're no longer working on our money, that's when things just go out the window and we are no longer working for our future. For me, every single time I sit down to track my spending, every single time I sit down to write my budget, I see it as a way that I am helping future Allison. Future Allison is going to be so thankful that I took the time to work on this. And I know because I look back at the past version of me and the current version of me, the present version of me is so thankful that I took the time to write a budget, pay off debt, start investing and saving money. I think it's really easy to get hung up on this idea that we have to be chasing perfection, that everything has to be exactly as we want it to be. But I don't think that that's the goal. I think that progress needs to be your goal. There will be times whenever you overspend. There will be times whenever you need to go in and make adjustments with your money, with your budget, and that's okay. I do it all the time. It doesn't make me a failure. It makes me resourceful. It makes me a problem solver, and it makes it to where I am confident when it comes to my money. If you enjoyed this video, then you're gonna love my video all about 5 money lies keeping you broke. I'm breaking down 5 lies that you might believe when it comes to money. And it's okay, I believed all of these in the past. I'm gonna be sharing why these lies are literally costing you money and what to do instead. I know you're gonna love it.